or the person meeting us did it on hydraulic fracturing. And if you don't remember, hydraulic fracturing or fracking is the process of drilling and injecting fluid into the ground at a high pressure in order to fracture shale rocks to release natural gas inside. The claim that I'm responding to is hydraulic fracturing will cause damage to the local environment. And my opponent used two secondary claims. One is that fracking has been shown to cause earthquakes around the area of drilling. Two, harmful chemicals used in fracking can leak into local water supplies. I think that hydraulic fracturing does not cause damage to the local environment, and my two responses is that they do not cause earthquakes, but hydraulic fracturing does not cause earthquakes, but it is mostly caused by seismicity. And second, fracking is not the cause of harmful chemicals leaking into local water supplies, but is caused by poor road construction. My first claim is that hydraulic fracturing does not cause earthquakes, but is caused by seismicity. And hydraulic fracturing is known to cause very minor seismicity activity when the fluids are injected into a formation. Seismicity is the occurrence of frequency of earthquakes in the region. And in 2012, the Colorado Oil and Gas Association said that geologists know that because of microseismicity, geophones are placed in the ground during a fracture treatment to pick up the semi-seismic waves, which can be mapped to show the extent of fractures. Therefore, the earthquakes are not large enough to cause damage or disturbance. And the U.S. Department of Energy said that, to our knowledge, hydrofracturing to intentionally create permeability rarely creates unwanted induced seismicity. And Stanford University geophysicist Professor Mark Zubak stated that the typical energy released from fracking is the equivalent to a gallon of milk falling off the kitchen counter. Experts and geologists around the globe are convinced that the seismic activity caused by hydraulic fracturing is not a hazard or nuisance, and seismic events caused by hydraulic fracturing typically have a magnitude range from -4.5 to -1. And also in 2012, in an article called Experts, Oklahoma Quakes Too Powerful to Be Man-Made, hydraulic fracturing may sound like it could cause like an earthquake, but experts say the process does not pack nearly the punch of a moderate earthquake. My advocate mentioned the 5.6 earthquake in central Oklahoma that rocked 3 miles underground and the power of 3,800 tons of TNT, which is nearly 2 tons stronger than the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. In Oklahoma, which is a home to 185,000 drilling wells and hundreds of injection wells, the question of man-made seismic activity comes up quickly, but so far federal, state, and academic experts say that reading shows that the Oklahoma quakes were natural, following the lines of a long-known fault. And also in 2011, in an article by Fox News, there was a report that there had been earthquakes occurring in Arkansas, but Steve Ryan, an earthquake specialist, stated that a correlation between the Arkansas earthquakes and the side effect of the drilling is the disposal of wastewater in injection wells. And my second response is that fracking does not cause harmful chemicals leaking into local water supplies, but is caused by poor well constructions. And a growing movement, environmentalists, scientists, and residents worry that the chemicals used in the fracking process will leak into aquifers. Wastewater from the process returns to the surface contaminated with some of those chemicals, as well as buried salts and naturally occurring radioactive material. That wastewater needs to be treated or buried deep in the earth using underground injection wells. In 2013, in an article called Lighting Water on Fire, Gas and Water Supplies Existing Long Before Fracking by Skura, Donald Siegel, a professor of earth sciences at Syracuse University, noted that studies shown that many homes have underground water naturally with methane in it, and many with methane sufficient is to set on fire. And Skoro talked to most experts and did not see any drinking water contamination as a major problem. And in many states, people have dealt with methane in the water supply long before gas drilling took place. And while many have focused on the potential threat from the chemicals, experts have come to believe that more routine aspects of the drilling process is more to cause problems. Therefore, like poor well construction that allows access gas to escape spills of chemicals or other fluids that take place at the surface, and disposal of wastewater are the issues of concern. And my opponent used the same source by Rob Jackson, saying that his research team found water wells within a kilometer of fracking sites 6 times more methane than the average well. But in a more recent study, researchers have seen that unrelated to well construction, that most of the problems is related to well construction and not fracking materials. And Jackson and his colleagues at Duke have done numerous studies over the last few years and looked at whether gas drilling is contaminating nearby drinking water and mixed results. And none has found chemical contamination, but they did find evidence of natural gas escaping from the wells. And in conclusion, I hope that I prove my point that hydraulic fracturing does not cause damage to the local environment.
All right, structurally things are pretty good. There's way too much reading, by the way, in your presentation. You need to talk to us a little bit more. On the earthquake issue, I think you do a good job suggesting that it's unlikely that fracking would have a connection to this. You're having a little bit of trouble with the pronunciation of some of the terminology. That means that you needed to practice it a little bit more. Also, I think you need to explain some of the terms to the audience, because I'm not sure that seismicity or that some of the other terms that you used are automatically going to be clear to the audience that's listening. Ultimately, though, I think you do a pretty good job of showing that it's unlikely that fracking had any impact on this, that the fracking is actually infinitesimally small, that the example that the advocate used is unlikely to be related to fracking, and it occurred on a fault line that has been well known well before fracking took place. I think all of that's a pretty solid idea. On the second point, the methane issue, I think that you have good arguments on, that it preceded fracking, that there are plenty of other places where they have the methane where it doesn't really present a threat to the drinking water. That's okay. The stuff, though, that says that it's the construction of the wells that creates the problem, well, I think the construction of the wells is part of the fracking process, so I'm not sure that you've really diminished the argument that much unless you can show that well construction is something that can be managed effectively to reduce that. And then the elimination or the storage of the wastewater that gets used, that seems to be where there's some controversy, and I think that that's where the advocate said the source of the problem was from primarily. So you, in essence, are acknowledging that part of the argument, and I think you need a better response on that. All right, thank you.